Ismail Vadi says, should the meter taxi industry be found to be involved in the murder of 21-year-old rival Taxify driver, the provincial government will shut down the service. Vadi was speaking after visiting the family of Siyabonga Ngcobo, a Taxify driver whose charred remains were found in the boot of his cab in Sunnyside, Pretoria last Friday. 2 metered taxis have also been torched in Pretoria just hours after the murder of Ngcobo. The feud between meter taxis and the app-operated taxis like Uber and Taxify has been going on now for over a year. 2 meter taxis have been torched in Pretoria just hours after the murder of a Taxify driver. The National Transport Department has on previous occasions intervened, but the situation is not getting better. We take the discussion further now with a spokesperson for the South African National Taxi Council, SANTACO, which is the council metered taxis are affiliated to. In studio, we've got Thabiso Mololekwa. Thabiso, thanks very much. Thanks for coming in to talk to us here this morning.
Thank you.
What's your reaction to the death of, the latest killing of this Taxify driver?
We were shocked, and more importantly, that's why we even requested an urgent meeting with the meter taxi leadership to find out exactly what happened, how did the situation get to that far. We condemned the death in its strongest terms. And we even told the meter taxi that violence is not a way of solving these issues. We know that they've got a case, but what has happened to a young Siyabonga Ngcobo is not really justifiable.
Yeah. It feels like SANTACO has been very quiet over this issue.
Well, in the public domain, yes, but in government circles, we have been talking very strongly. We have spoken to at least 2 previous ministers, Minister Joma Songanye and Minister Dipuo Peters. We have spoken to the MEC for Transport on this, on various occasions. And I regret to say that much has not really been achieved on this issue.
Yeah, which it is a big problem. It's a very big problem because I think anybody should be free to operate in an environment as a business and as a commuter. If you want to use these e-hailing services, you should be freely available to do that. And if you want to work for them, and a lot of people are being employed and making a living out of them, and yet the threat from the metered taxis is so dangerous that people are losing their lives. How are you speaking to your taxi drivers? What are you telling them?
Maybe the question is what informs the threat? Because you see, the freedom to operate is also should be within the parameters of the law. And at the heart of this issue is the fact that law has not really been followed to the latter to enable Uber and Taxify to operate within the transport sector. And this has been our argument with Minister Vadi. The issue of permits has been a long outstanding issue, particularly in Gauteng. And we have at various occasions had commitments from the MEC which continue to go unfulfilled. And it is unjustifiable that today, with that problem at hand for years, you would find that Uber and Taxify has been able to be issued with licenses, let alone the fact that legislation has been flouted that governs how they should be, be able to enter the market.
Yeah, I'm worried about your response to that question because it feels that, in a way, it's justified what the meter taxi operators are doing, and it's not. I mean, there are people's lives that have been lost here.
Well, the meter taxi has distanced themselves from the death.
It's very difficult to agree with the meter taxis distancing themselves from this because people are saying that it was the meter taxis. It's not the first incident. We've seen it playing out in the open where there's been rivalry between the meter taxi drivers and these e-operating, the Uber and Taxify and other agencies. We've seen it happening. It's not a secret. I mean, it is going on. Do you justify this behavior?
I'm not sure if you implied that they're guilty, but I think for now, the matter is left up to the police.
Yeah.
And the commitment that we've had from them is that they are willing to work with the police to ensure that the perpetrators are brought to book. Somebody said they've got videos, they've got pictures of the actual people who have done this. And we are saying, contribute that, volunteer that information to the police so that we are able to put the perpetrators behind bars. And maybe it's very important that one gets back to your issue around the behavior of meter taxis. There is frustration, and we agree that it's not really justifiable. But it is also important, and it's even clear with the current attitude at the moment, that the MEC is not even talking to the real issue. And we are saying whatever measures or interim measures put in place would only last up to that far. There's a need to deal with the issue at hand. There's a need to find a lasting solution to that.
And the issue you're talking about is the permits.
Permits.
The issue I'm talking about is the killing and the killing of innocent people who are trying to make a living. If I want to get into an Uber taxi or a Taxify as opposed to a metered taxi, that's my choice.
True.
Surely I'm allowed a choice.
True.
Okay, so there's no justification, is there? And you keep saying that maybe I am implying that the violence is coming from the taxi drivers, the meter taxi drivers, but it is the impression that's being created. And I think people are fully aware that the violence is coming from them.
Perhaps one must answer your question with this question. Do you know how many taxis are impounded for being unlicensed? Just 2 days ago,
Which taxis? Meter taxis?
No, the public taxis.
Okay.
I want to raise an issue.
Yeah?
To say you've got about 25 taxis that were impounded just 2 days ago. One of the issues they were impounded was because they are unlicensed. Now, in terms of legislation, that was the challenge with Uber. And this was the issue that was raised by the meter taxi, to say to the MEC, these guys are operating. You recognize these guys, but these guys are illegal. In terms of the law, you've not followed the law. If they want to operate, let them apply, gazette their application, give us an opportunity to oppose. As required by the law, that has not been done.
Yeah.
But you still continue to protect them. So you put the cart before the horse and want us to understand that with the frustrations that we have, we must continue to have them.
Yeah.
We are not saying as Santaco it is justifiable to threaten the commuter life. We are not saying as Santaco commuters should not choose. Of course, they are entitled to that. But what we are saying is that being the case also, it is the prerogative of government to ensure that there's equitable ground for all players in the market to enjoy the service that they want to provide.
It doesn't seem that way, though. But I can't get into more details, but I understand your side of the story. The MEC has threatened to shut down metered taxi services. This is a massive threat. It shouldn't have gotten to this point, but there's this threat that they will not be operating anymore due to all of this violence. Does this not worry you? Does this not concern you, if in fact the meter taxi drivers are found to be guilty of the murder?
It does, and this is why the president of Santaco, Mr. Philip Taibosh, is requesting an urgent meeting with the minister in an effort to find an amicable solution to this problem. And whether or not the ranks are closed for meter taxis to operate, what remains at heart is that we need to resolve the issue of permits in Gauteng. We need to resolve the issue of meter taxis.
And we need to stop the killing.
And the killing needs to stop.
You're not talking about the killing. You are emphasizing more the permits as opposed to the killings. And I would expect you to sit here and condemn any such behavior and urge your taxi drivers not to behave in any way, whether it was or wasn't them. And I think that's an important message you need to get across.
It is, Leanne. And maybe I must indicate, Santaco has remained committed to condemnation of violence at all costs. The previous Minister of Police exited his position with consistent requests from our side as Santaco to say, we want a meeting, we want you to formulate a project that focuses specifically on taxi violence to deal with these issues, because some of the violence is really provoked by government officials who are conflicted in one way or the other, and we want government to deal with this. Gauteng legislature has indicated that conflict exists, but what is being done to deal with it? So we need to deal with this in its whole form and not subjectively. All right,
Tabisa, we've got to leave it there. Tabisa Mololekwa is the Santaco spokesperson talking to about the meter taxi violence and of course your e-cab hailing services as well and the violence between them. Let's take a break. We'll see you after this.